spot so that way I don't have to worry about my phone overheating. I'm also close to a place where I can charge up my phone because I still plan on being out even after I do this video. But I'm watching the time and I want to get another video in. So I decided to take a pause in my walking. I probably should have recorded inside the building, but I don't like to overcharge my phone. Like if it's at 50 or 40%, I don't like to overcharge it if need be, or if I don't have to, should I say. But I did learn my lesson from yesterday because that was good footage that I had yesterday. But maybe that was God saying that some of what I said probably didn't need to be saved. So that's why the battery went dead. I took that as a message. But I am close to a place where I can go inside and charge my phone. So I would most definitely do that. I checked my phone battery before I started this video. So I know I will be in the clear. I'll get a quick charge before I do more walking. It's still early. So that's why that's why it's important to try to, if you can now, we know we're all busy, but if we can, to do things in a relatively early enough time so that way if we do need to recharge our phone, we can do that, to be able to continue on to get our content in that we need for the day. You definitely don't want to be like me and don't come prepared, and if your battery runs low, you're not prepared. Like I did bring my charger, but the battery went dead before I was able to find a place to charge. So that's a lesson telling me to, if you're going to do a video as lengthy as that one, try to be at a place where you can charge your phone. I didn't pay attention to the signs yet again, but I should have known because the video was showing way too light. Like you guys really couldn't see the background. And like I said, that was probably done for a reason. Just like the phone fell over for a reason. But the good thing is, at least the video didn't stop. I'm going to keep that up because, like I said, I don't edit my videos. I just post them up the way that they are. So that way, at least you guys know that it's generally real life. This is real life time. This is me actually recording as I go. You guys get to see the good, the bad, all of that, the ins, the outs. Like yesterday when I recorded in front of the church, I don't know if you guys heard the church music or the church songs. Like I didn't plan that. I didn't think they was having a service. But like I said, everything is aligning for a reason. And I like it. So we're going to continue on in our book, The Lost Art of Listening. And I'm going to scroll along to see what I find next. Here's a good quote that they mention, or a good statement that they say. So it says, who we are and what we say triggers other people's response to us. That response and our connection to others remain vital to our psychological well-being. Okay, so who we are and what we say triggers other people's response to us. That's very important. That is why we must be careful on the things that we look at and listen to. If we know that we are a hot-tempered person, why would you watch someone who is direct and blunt? You're only setting yourself up for failure. You're only putting yourself in a predicament where you're going to get upset. And if you're not careful, you're going to act off impulse. And that's something that you don't want. That's what I did. People were telling me the truth. People were sending me subliminal messages, and I couldn't take it. And it was triggering. And I watched things unfold for a while before I did act off impulse. And I did just exactly what was intended to happen. I did what I did, but it happened for a good reason, y'all. Because like I said, I can say this over and over and over again. Me acting out the way that I did was done for a good purpose. I wasn't getting the messages any other way, so people had to come up with a different approach to get my attention, and it worked. And I'm not upset that it worked, because it ended up gearing me in the right direction, which is what I needed. Like I said, I wasn't getting it the soft way, the soft, easy, gentle way. I got it from aggression, through intervention. Some of us take a little bit more of a stronger approach to relay messages. Some of us are not easily persuasive or easy to control in a sense. I once was an easy easy person to manipulate, but y'all, through life challenges and through life experiences, I have outgrown that. You have to realize that I literally went through a lot of changes over the past several years, so I'm not the same person that you guys may have known or I'm not the same person that you guys have known previously. And I think a lot of you probably noticed that now, or are starting to realize that, yeah, she's changed a little bit. She still has her ways, her childish ways and whatnot. And of course, I'm still going to have those childish ways because that's just how I am. But I have grown in a lot of ways also. I'm the toughest I've ever been. Though I can't fight, I'm not a fighter, but if I'm approached in a way where I feel like it's threatening or a danger to myself, I will be able to defend myself. And no, I haven't gone through any rigorous training besides our military training. But that's basic. But I feel confident that I'm not afraid. If I'm approached, I will be able to defend myself. Yeah, I might, get a couple bruises or whatnot, but I'm not going to go down without a fight. Like I said, I'm at the strongest that I've ever been. I'm the most confident that I've ever been. I lost the wig, so I'm definitely in a don't F with me type of mode. But in a gentle way, not in a way where I'm walking around being a hazard to people or wanting to cause harm. No, not that type of thing. Not at all. But I'm saying, like, I am in a mode where, like I said, I can fend for myself. I'm confident in self that I will be able to handle challenges that may come my way. I don't walk around looking for challenge either. If I see a challenge on the way, because I can see things from afar, coming from afar, I will reroute because I'm not with it. And if I see it coming my way, like I said, I'll go the other way because I'm not looking for trouble. I don't like trouble coming at me, especially if I state that I don't want trouble. I'm not looking for it. I'm just trying to do what I'm supposed to do on a day-to-day basis. That's one thing in particular that I like about here. That, like I said before, like the people here, they mind their business. They don't. they're so much caught up in their own everyday life. Like they walk around like focused on what they have going on. So they very much are not. And I think I probably got accustomed to it because that's what I do. I walk and I'm into myself. I very much I'm in my own lane. I'm in my own zone. My mind frame is on what I have to do for the day. I'm strictly business. But I still like to goof off. I like to, because that's just how I am. I do awkward, weird stuff. It wouldn't be me if I don't do something that's completely left field. I'm still going to be myself. But again, there's a time and a place for everything. And I'm realizing that a lot more each day, which is good for me. So definitely, it's true when they say who we are and what we say does trigger people's response. That's why we have to be careful, because not everyone is without weapon. Weapon can be mouth. Weapon can be a physical weapon. Weapon can be anything. You can make anything into a weapon that can cause serious harm. So we must be careful. Even though we're packed light, like meaning nothing, just our essentials, doesn't mean that the other person that we've triggered and we didn't even know we triggered isn't packed with anything, because that can be an instant death situation. So we must be mindful of that, most definitely. So I'm going to continue on and see. So this is a good one. So it says, sometimes in injury or illness, confusion or stress, we may realize that no one fully leaves behind those childhood feelings of dependency. It says, at times like these, our lifelong need for other people is self-evident. Their response to us either validates our experience or not. So, sometimes in injury or illness, confusion or stress, we may realize that no one fully leaves behind those childhood feelings of dependency. This is, of course, a true statement. When I shared about the abandonment situation where I felt like the time where money was very scarce and I only was making enough to pay my bills, and I barely had anything to eat. That sense of abandonment came in. And no, I'm not saying that I ever went hungry as a child, because I did not. My mom always made sure, and my dad, of course. Anywhere I stayed, they always made sure I ate. It may not have been what I wanted to eat, but it was food. And it was always good food. Yeah, there were times when we just had sandwiches. Yeah, there was times when my mom actually cooked. But 90% of the time, she always cooked. Which was good for us. Like I said, it might not have been what I wanted, but it was still food. I think the abandonment came in because she would cook and then she would eat with us most of the time, but sometimes she would be in her room. Now her gateway was she would make sure that we're well, and then she would go to her room. That was her way of relaxing, of coping through for the night, or winding down for the night. She would go to her room. Like I said, my dad's way was playing his games. My mom's way was retreating to her room. And if we wanted her, we would knock on her door and she would open the door, and then that's when we would, let her know what we wanted. Sometimes she would be in the living room with us, but most of the time, like I said, and I get it why she needed that space. I remember telling you guys before, like if you have kids and you don't have anyone to watch them, or you don't trust people watching your kids due to past experiences, what do? You still have to make that time where you're able to have that time for yourself, meaning seclude yourself. Make sure that your children or your child is occupied. So our occupy was either watching TV, or for me, some of the times, most of the times, was going over to a neighbor's house or a best friend's house that's close by. But we were occupied nevertheless. Like I said, it might not have been the occupation that we wanted, but we were still occupied nevertheless, and we were safe. I would just let my mom know if I was leaving out the house, so she would know my whereabouts. But she had eyes everywhere. She knew, and then I had some relatives that lived close by too, so it wasn't like she wasn't in the know, because I was always tracked at all times. So that's why I felt the need that I was always safe. Like if I felt like if I didn't want to leave the house, I knew that my cousins who were close by were still on the lookout. I didn't see them at that time because I was little, so I didn't pay attention, but I knew that cousins were nearby, so there was no worry with that. But I'm thankful, like, I had that choice to either stay in or go out and roam, because like I said, I was always an outdoor child, and I knew where to come home at. I know when to come home to eat. But throughout the day, like before the food was cooked, like I would be out, out and about, chilling with a friend or two that I like to always go to their house. So it was like we were always occupied, but like I said, we didn't have a car at the time, so we weren't able to like do outdoor stuff, or not outdoor stuff, but extracurricular activities from school, like some of the other kids that I went to school with. So that wasn't an option. So I guess I kind of created my own way of extracurricular activities by going to a friend's house and keeping myself occupied then, because it was kind of boring being in the house. So that was my way of staying occupied. So I'm going to move on and see what else did I see next. Okay, so it says being listened to spells the difference between feeling accepted and feeling isolated. Being listened to spells the difference between feeling accepted and feeling isolated. Again, like they stated previously, we could be in a house with someone and we're talking to them, and so okay, all right, I'm going to share this experience, and I'm being very vulnerable because I feel like I have to, because you guys already kind of know my situation anyway. So this is the purpose of me doing the recording, so you guys can actually hear my experiences. And I know some of y'all are going to be like, damn, and I'm going to mark this for kids not to listen to. So again, some things that I speak on, or it might be some wordage that I use that aren't for kids to listen to. We know kids are going to be kids, and they're going to listen to things. They're going to find a way to listen to things on their own, but that's when, you try to make sure if you catch it, you chastise them, because we don't want kids growing up too fast. But we all know, I just shared that I do have childish ways, especially back then. I wasn't at that maturity level where a grown man who is well experienced, well endowed, could talk to. Or I felt that the type of people that I hung out with, or that I like to be around, were, like I said, well endowed, well experienced, very, very mature, because they were older, and where they come from, they're very mature. So I felt as though they felt that they couldn't have discussions or topic, or like could even talk to me, because I felt that they felt that I wasn't really on their level. Like, yeah, they would talk to me, of course, because like duh, but about certain situations, about certain things, I felt like they felt that I wasn't competent enough. There we go, that's the word, to actually express or to talk to, because they probably felt that I wasn't going to give them good feedback or provide a response that to their liking. So I think I kind of could see why they would call like their homeboys or their friends or their relatives to actually get a good advice, because at that time I was still kind of like still finding myself. The maturity wasn't there, and I just was so, I don't know, it makes sense now that I look at it, because even some of the conversations that I have now, they're more on a maturity level, but I have to think about that I come from, or my upbringing was different from that person's. So having a roommate that you can't really talk to on that level it can be draining, because you're not able, you feel that you can't talk to them about certain things, because they're not going to really understand. They're not going to be competent enough to give you a good, you know what I'm saying, like a good feedback, or you feel like they're just not all the way there, so they're not going to understand. So that goes to show, or that goes to say, just imagine years of that. I might have felt a certain type of way because I felt that what I was, or my response to things was being shared, or vice versa, or whatnot. I don't know, not vice versa, because I wouldn't share what we would discuss, but I have to understand too that maybe they're getting that advice from someone else, because at that time I wasn't providing that competent response that they were looking for. That saying is like you're talking to a brick wall. It is kind of true, because it's not that I wasn't paying attention or listening to what was being said, but what I was saying wasn't really matching up to what they wanted to hear, if that makes any sense. So I can definitely understand where there was a sense of just not, there was a void there, because again, when you're talking to someone, you want to make sure that that person is fully understanding what you're saying. And the thing is, when you already know that you're talking to someone who does have a form of disability, you already know that they may or may not grasp the information that's being presented to them. So you already go in, you already like know that, okay, this is going to be a challenge, because I don't know, they already go in with guards already, because they already probably know that the message is not going to be received in the manner that they want it to be received. So yeah, I definitely can see that being an issue or a problem, because who wants to be able, or who wants to continue to keep that process up? Like, who wants to live with someone who they feel like doesn't really understand them? And that could be mutual, because I felt like, I felt kind of like the same way, but neither one of us really had the finances to, because I had lost my place, so neither one of us, and I think he was working on his credit or whatever he was doing at the time, I don't know. But it's like neither one of us, or we both were codependent on each other, because neither one of us had the funding to be able to live on our own. And I already said that most tenants don't make enough to be able to live on their own. And if they do live on their own, they probably already know the property manager. They probably are related to the property manager. There's some sort of connect on how they were able to get the place. Or there's a slim chance that they actually do make 3 times the amount of rent, which is very rare, especially being a single person. If you look up and you do have a really good job, or career, should I say, because it wouldn't be a job at that point if you make 3 times the rent, it would be a career. A career would be more long-term. Or if you have your own business, that would be another thing that would, of course, allow you to be able to live on your own successfully and not have to be able to rely on people. So we're gonna move on. I just wanted to share that, share that piece. I try to make things personable as I read, so that way I'm not reading the book verbatim, because I just use the book for insight to get me going to be able to talk about certain things. So I'm continuing on, y'all. I'm trying to see what I'm going to talk about next. Alright, so we have another exercise where there's questions. I know you guys love to hear me talk about questions, right? So y'all can hear my input on how I would answer it. So I'm going to go through this exercise, and then I'm going to end this video because I want to be able to charge my phone. I definitely don't want the same thing to happen yesterday to happen today, because I will get pissed. Like I said, I know things happen for a reason why the video lost its charge yesterday, but I don't want that to happen today, because that was time that I actually could have put into doing something else. I take my time very precious. My time is very valuable, and I don't like it to be, toyed with. But I also know that I should have been more prepared, meaning, if I was going to yap that long, I should have yapped at a place where I knew I could charge my phone. All right, so there are 7 questions. I'm going to go through the 7 questions, and this will take us to a different chapter. So that'll be the perfect time to close out. All right, so let me get a little bit of my drink. Hold on, y'all. So I do have... my second body armor. I bought 2 yesterday. This is my second one. So I'm staying hydrated. It's warm out, y'all, but we still have the breeze. Thankfully, there's the breeze, and I found a shady spot, so I'm not directly in the sun. Y'all know I'm already dark. I'm not trying to cook out here, but I do like to change up the scenery too. I mean, I know it's not much in the background, and there's trash, but at least it's some sort of a backdrop for you guys. And no, I did not, that piece of trash that I picked up, I did not put that there. Just a disclaimer. Alright, so the first question is there someone who would love to have you listen more attentively? I would say definitely my family, of course. That's the number one okay. So family is definitely my number one audience that I know would want me to listen more attentively to what they have to say. Mainly they say, oh, well, you should come back home because It's not safe for you. We don't like what you're doing. We want you to come back home. And I understand that most of them are worried about my safety. But they must understand that I've been on my own for years. I've been on my own when I was with them, basically. I always felt that they just wasn't. I always felt like I wasn't liked. And I get it. I've been told that I'm the one that people don't like. And I'm okay with that. Why would I want to go back to people who don't really like me? You know what I'm saying? I respect that. So what do I do to make sure that I stay afloat, that I'm able to take care of myself, fend for myself? I'm going to go out and I'm going to hustle and do what I have to do to make sure that I survive. And make sure that they are good too. So we're helping each other. I think that they like me when I'm not in their presence. I think that they love me more because they already know that I'm not going to really listen. And it's not that I'm not going to listen. It's just I feel like I don't know how to say it. You know when they say the heart grows fonder, or absence make the heart grows fonder. I feel like, and it has been years since I've actually seen some family members. So I can only imagine them actually hearing my voice for the first time in a long time, that it was probably very sentimental. They were probably very emotional. Some of them probably even proud that I changed my tone of voice. Like I don't speak, I guess, childish anymore. I don't know how to say it, but and a lot of them are probably saying, well, wow, she actually is still doing relatively well. You know, it's not where we want her to be, but she's still thriving, like the person that we knew that she could be if she would stop doing certain things. If you were to listen more closely to that person, how would it affect your relationship? So me saying that my family, if I were to listen more closely to my family, how would it affect our relationship? I feel like we feed off of each other. Since I don't follow a lot of them, since I have a lot of them blocked, since we do communicate through music, because we have some shared connections through some of our apps. So they get at me through music. That's why I kind of was upset yesterday, because their playlist was kind of like going ham. But I get it. I understand. They had that aggression. But I also let them know too, like, I get what you're saying, but at the same time, like chill. Like, you're doing too much. Like, that type of thing. And I have noticed today that there's a change in the selected music that was shared or that was played, because they get it. They know that I'm going to do what I said I'm going to do, and if you're annoying the heck out of me, I'm going to be petty. But I'm going to be petty in a way where it's going to piss you off, because I asked you to chill. And I told you guys, or I told them, that I have boundaries that won't be crossed. So I'm happy that they got the message and it was relayed in a way where they understood that I meant business, which is good. So I know what certain things that they portray. I do listen to feedback. I do pick up on hints. I do pick up on subliminals, so I listen to them as well. Especially when it comes to how I relay messages. So it's definitely a mutual thing, for sure, I would say. But yeah, I'm gonna move on. It says we're gonna go into the second question because this one, the first question is pretty much it. They have with their questions, they have like multiple questions within one question, and I feel like I don't want to repeat the same question within the question, so I'll move on to the next question. So it says, make a list of things that might be worth not listening to. So make a list of things that might be not. So it says, make a list of things that might be worth not listening to. Well, that's easy. Any type of negativity, any type of belittling. Or telling me how I should live my life, like certain decisions that I make. And I say that because let me explain that, because some people might take that the wrong way. So I say how I should live my life and the decisions that I make. One being, if I feel good on this part of the world, like on the West Coast, like respect that decision. But be glad that we're still able to communicate with each other. You guys are able to see me whenever I do post, videos where I'm seen. You guys haven't seen me in a while since I had my haircut, but I will, show myself again. But my main focus is, it's not about how I look now. It's just more about my attitude, my walk with trying to do right, fix some of the habits that I know that I needed to always have fixed, that type of thing. Sometimes it's not about being visible all the time. It's more so about action, because action does make up for a lot of things. I can look really good, but am I living really good? You know what I'm saying? I can look really bad, but it's just, I don't know. It's not all about looks. And I know some might say, well, we still want to see, if you're taking care of yourself, if you're still dressed in the same way that you dress, or if you change your wardrobe up, that type of thing. Because I do try to change up my style of how I dress. I do that every couple months or so. I do like to switch up how, I present myself. Sometimes I might want to dress this way. Sometimes I want to dress. Either way, it's going to be comfortable. Either way, it's going to be very, very laid back. It's going to be very, very relaxing. It's not going to be anything, too popish, too out there, because I never was a flashy type of person. Because I always like to hold on to money. Yeah, every now and then I'll splurge. But it wouldn't be that type of splurge where it was always into materialistic stuff or materialistic things. One being, that's probably why I haven't furnished my apartment yet. I could do it, but I'm just holding off. It's not important for me right now. I have the basics. I could go ahead and build up my wardrobe if I wanted to. I could do it, but again, there's more things that's more important, like this debt. I can always build my wardrobe. I can always get furniture in the future. I can always get those maintenance repairs, those fixer-uppers, those things done around the apartment. I can always do that, but I'm not looking to accumulate more debt on top of the debt that's already there. So I'm going to move on to the next part of the question. It says, we're going to move on to question number 3. It says, think of someone you avoid telling certain things because of the way that person typically responds to you. Think of someone you avoid telling certain things to because of the way that person typically responds to you. Well, I can say a lot of people might say it could be me because, like I said, sometimes my response to things isn't what they expect to hear. And I know my coworkers probably feel the same way. Like when they would talk to me about certain things, and I just give them a response that they're not really looking forward to hearing. But I would say people probably feel that way about me, that they avoid telling me certain things because they feel like I'm not going to fully understand or grasp what they're fully saying. Because I'm physically there, like my body is there, but my mind is always on the other side of town. And I get it. And I know also that they may feel like, or whoever's talking to me may feel like they have to repeat themselves because they feel like, you know, the information is not being processed the first time. And, you know, I get it. But I'm working on trying to make sure that I am slowing down on certain things. I'm not starting multiple tasks. When I am being spoken to, I try to make sure that I'm giving eye contact, so that way I can know that I am focused. No, I'm not going to stare the person down the whole time when they're talking to me, but I am going to address and be aware and let them know that I'm actually engaged in what they're saying. I'm actually looking at them. So that way they know that I'm focused. I'm zoned in. And most of the time now, whenever they ask of something, I try to do immediately. Like at work, if I'm told to do something that particular time and moment, I try to make sure that I do it right away. So that way I don't get distracted or end up forgetting about it. Or, yeah, that's because I basically only get talked to at work because I don't really hang around a lot of people like that. Not like I used to. And not that I used to hang around a lot of people. It's just now I'm just around the people that are in a need to be around basis. Whether it's a drill or it's at work. Now I do have some times where people approach me and they ask me questions or that type of thing. And, you know, I'll have those casual conversations that way. But typically, I'm just around people that I have to be around. And so, yeah, I can only speak from experience through that. So it says the purpose of this exercise is to get you to practice calling people on their annoying listening habits without turning it into a big confrontation. And I like that piece because, like I said, I know that I may annoy a lot of people because, like I said, people feel as though I'm either ignoring them by the things that they say, or I'm not fully giving them the response that they want. So I know that the reason why they or the authors put these questions per chapter is so that way I can talk it out. I can say aloud the things that I need to work on when it comes to effective communication, when it comes to effective listening, when it comes to effective feedback or deliverance, execution, that type of thing. So that's what therapists do. That's what psychologists do. they give you an array of questions. They ask you an array of questions just to see where your mind is, how you answer the question. If you're answering the question or you're going around the question, that type of thing. That's how they learn about their individual. So I'm going to move on to the next question. It says, what did you learn about listening while growing up at home, in school, and other places outside of the home? So what I would say that I learned from listening while growing up at home, in school, and other places outside of home is just to I would say I probably learned, if anything, I listened on what I didn't want to be like. I've heard a lot of things that I didn't want to be like. And then the funny thing is, some of those things I ended up being just like. So it's just like, I always said that I didn't want to be like such and such, and then I ended up picking up some of their habits. And I had to learn those lessons the hard way. But you do learn, I must say, no matter, like they say, if it's at home, at work, at a public place, you do learn a lot by listening to people. If you want to get to know a person, ask them an array of questions. Ask them some questions that you'll actually get to know a lot about them by. You have to ask people certain questions, not like random silly things, but you have to ask them legit good questions to get a specific answer out of them, like such as these questions here that they're asking. You have to ask questions that actually make people think. There you go. And with me choosing a route to talk out my issues or my problems online through my social media, these, such as the questions in this book here, are very good questions to get a good, to kind of gauge like where my mindset is at. So I got to kind of get to know a little bit about me. That's why I'm trying to get material that gets me to talk about just about everything. I try not to be so closed off now, especially since I use YouTube videos as my main source of content. I have to be able to communicate. I have to be able to talk about different topics, not the same topics, but different topics. Topics where you all not only get to know me a little bit more, but to kind of see my point of view of certain things. That's the purpose of, why I record, and why I choose to do or go the reading route, because typically people do get books where they kind of either can relate to or mainly that they can relate to. People use books as a form of disassociation or a relief of, I don't know, people use books to kind of like, just like the author said in the other book, they use it as a gateway to kind of put themselves in the book. Like they actually use the book as escapism, just like the author said, and that's true. That does happen, especially people who do genuinely like to read books. That is very much the case. It says, who do you think was the most listened to in your family and the least listened to? What is your explanation for this? So I would say the most listened to in my family, I don't know, y'all. I would have to say me. I was always, yeah, I know my mom was always frustrated with me. I'm going to do mother and father side. So, yeah, I know my mother was always frustrated with me, and she didn't like me because I reminded her so much of my father, and, you know, blah, 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 blah. But, and I'm talking about my blood mother. So, I would still say that I was the most listened to child because I was the second oldest, and my oldest brother was the one that liked to always act on impulse. He had a very, very hot temper. So I would say I was always the one that my mom listened to on the low now, on the low. But I must say she was always the one that she would always listen to me. And I think I can relate. There was a part in the book where I read about being that third parent, or I would say that second parent in my case, because my mom was she was a single parent. So I would say I can definitely relate to the author when she said I was like that second parent. Whether if I wanted to be that second parent or not, because I was the second oldest. And I was the one that, not saying that my brother wasn't mature, but again, he had a hot temper. You definitely don't want to put those responsibilities on a person that's going to blow up at any second. If you piss them off or if you say the wrong things to trigger them. Of course, you're not going to put that type of responsibility because you're scared that that person is going to do something that's going to be detrimental to the little kids. You don't want to, you know what I'm saying? So I would say it would definitely be me. And I wouldn't say there was no one that was the least listened to because my mom listened to all of us equally. So I can't relate to no one not being, listened to. Because like I said, my mom, she did listen to it. Not that I talked a lot at that. But I can always say that I was the most reliable one and the one that she would take the advice for the little words that I did speak. I put it that way because I wasn't one that talked a lot. I did more listening than anything. But I could definitely say that I was the responsible one, the one that was very bossy and demanding. And I think that's why I wasn't the one that was liked because I didn't play around. I'm not going to play with you. You're going to listen to me and you're going to do what I say to do. And I think that's why the household kind of fell apart because me being the mean one, because I am the mean one, y'all. If you guys didn't know that by now, I was the mean one. But I was mean in a way where somebody had to be the mean one because we can't all be, nice and just not using our heads. Somebody had to have their head in the game at all times. And that person was me. I was nice, but I was very adamant about cleaning up. Making sure that things were done in a manner where it was manageable, it was organized. And if I didn't want you talking to me, you're not going to talk to me type of thing. I don't know. I had my ways, but again, I was that one that was very firm. And I don't know. So that was the end of that one. It says, I already explained the explanation for why I said who was the most listened to and who was not the most listened to. I already explained why that was. So we're going to move on to the next question. So it says, when have you felt really listened to? And I would say more so now. And why I say now is because I think that everyone realized that I meant business when I said I think that we can all work together collectively, meaning me and my siblings, but I won't be able to assist you if you're not trying to assist yourself. Like, don't think that you're going to get the easy way out. Like, I'm going to do everything for you and baby you, and no, we all have disabilities. The same way that I struggle and still maintain, I feel that they can do the same. We shouldn't let our disabilities get the best of us to the point where we can't survive or we can't make a living. And I know that my blood sister, she didn't go the route that I did. She decided to keep her child. So she got stuck. You know what I'm saying? When you have a child by someone, and I'm guessing maybe she had a second child. I'm assuming that she probably got pregnant again. I'm not sure, but that's what I'm thinking. Or maybe my stepsister may have gotten pregnant again. I'm not sure. Someone has another child. Both of them I know. The last that I spoke to, both of them had one apiece. So I'm thinking that one of them has a second child. And we know that children slow you down. They're not like me and had that one and gave that one up. They actually wanted to take accountability for their actions, or they just wanted to plain out keep their child, and that's okay. I respect that, and I'm going to make sure that they're good, you know what I'm saying, because I understand the situation. But I also understand too, if you're pregnant by someone who's narcissistic, who traps you with a baby for the sake of keeping you around, I also know about that too. And that's why I do what I do, because I understand that they are nicer than I am. Both of them, blood sister and non-blood sister. They're not like me when it comes to certain things. And that's why I will always have their back more than my brothers, because my brothers, they can't, brothers can have babies too, but I'm talking about sisters, like that sisterhood type thing. Brothers are going to do their thing the way that they do it. I can't relate because I'm not a boy. I know I act like a boy. I might even look like a boy, but I can only talk about, my sisters. And why I know that I have to make sure that at the end of the day that they're good, because I couldn't leave them stranded any longer. Not stranded, because of course they're not gonna be stranded, but since that motherly figure is down, or I have to make sure that that they're taken care of, and that's why I do what I do. I make sure that I keep my word. I put in the time, I put in the effort. So I'm going to go on to the next question, because I want to make sure that I'm keeping an eye on my battery too. It says, It says, describe a time when you did some of your best listening. A time when I did some of my best listening. I would say noun. All of these questions would be a noun thing. Because all before, I would listen, but do I take the initiative to put into action the things that I'm being told? That's the thing. That's the difference between listening and actually doing what you're told. And I'll explain. Like, for instance, like, those times when I would get those messages when my sister would call, or not call, or text and say, you know, how things are going on and her needing assistance. Like, I would listen to it, but I was too ignorant to the fact that, well, what are you doing to try to fix the situation? You know, just being argumentative, that type of thing. But now more so ever, I take heed in things, I listen, I make sure that I'm trying to anyway make sure that I make up for the lost time. I know I can't change the past, but I can only look forward to a more brighter future. So the last question before I close this out is, when do you hesitate to say what's on your mind? What in your upbringing might have contributed to this reticence? So it says, what do you hesitate to say? When do you hesitate to say what's on your mind? And how has my upbringing affected this? Or how does my upbringing have to do with why I hesitate to say what's on my mind? So, this one's another good one. When do I hesitate to say what's on my mind? To be honest, y'all, I kind of always say what's on my mind. That's the problem. But I'm working on how I say it. I'm not scared to voice my opinion on things. And that's something that I'm trying to work out on, how I say. And definitely childhood being, because I was quiet, y'all. Like, I was the mean one, but I was also quiet. I would only say what I would only speak when I needed to speak. And when I guess that's when I spoke, things, came into fruition because I only spoke when I needed to, and people knew that, I was serious about, because I'm not going to talk if I don't have to. Unfortunately, in these days and times, I do a whole lot more talking because, it's time for me to, speak up about things, or how I feel about things, or, sharing my experience, because I never know, who I'm helping. So it's that type of thing. But I think one should always, not be afraid to, if you feel strongly about a topic or a subject or a manner, don't ever be afraid to be your own advocate. People respect you more if they hear your point of view of things. But you have to watch your tone as well. You have to watch how you say it, because you don't want to rub people the wrong way. But people tend to respect people who are not afraid to speak up. Bring out your ideas, bring out your opinions, because you can change a whole system by bringing out your opinions on things, which is good. And people actually might take your suggestions and utilize them. That's the good thing about speaking up and sharing your thoughts, because you never know who might be interested in what you have to say. But again, saying it in a way where it's not detrimental. So with that, y'all, I'm gonna wrap it up, and I'm gonna check my battery and see if I need to charge up. If not, I'm gonna continue walking on, and I will see you guys shortly. Thank you all for taking the time out to listen to the brief sharing that I did have to share. I feel like it's getting crowded over here, and before it gets crowded, I want to shift. So, and I think I did my time. I did an hour, which is good. I will be I don't want to post too much on my Instagram stuff because I don't want to overdo it, but I will be posting more stories, and I should be able to get another video in, depending on if there's a topic that comes up in the book. But I'm definitely going to be sharing more stories because I'm definitely still going to be getting my steps in. I feel like it's still early and I feel like I haven't walked enough, so I'm definitely going to be getting a move on. I'm going to check my battery first to see if I need to charge up before I make that walk, or if I'm good to go. But I will chat with you all later.